So in module 4, which is today, we're going to look at the slides and sheets. And it's the same idea, because if you've worked with Microsoft Office, these things will not necessarily be new to you, but it's just the interface of Google that might look a little different, and sometimes new could be intimidating. But Google's interface is so user-friendly once you get used to it. So don't be afraid to play around and make mistakes, and ultimately your computer will not explode. So if you make a mistake, you can just backtrack. Okay, and that is it for the welcoming. So let's get to it. Let me just get my screen to present. Okay, almost there. Okay, Jayson, is that showing on your side?
Yes, Andrea, it's showing.
Fantastic. Okay, so first things first, how do you create a new Google Slides presentation? So for this, we're going to open a new tab. So you can either just click this plus, or you can Command T. Oh, I have a MacBook, so it's Command T, and on a normal, not a Microsoft, what do you call it? A normal computer, an office computer, it will be Control T. So I'll just click the plus. And you can either navigate to slides by typing in slides.google.com. And it will take you to the Slides app. From here, you can either use a blank presentation, or you can use some form of template, a standard template from Google, or whatever template you have set up yourself. Another way to do it, and I'm just going to open a new tab again to show you, is you can navigate through this waffle, because my Chrome is already signed into my school account, as you can see. So I have access to the G Suite from there. You can go to the waffle and find slides right there and click on it. And it will take you to the same landing page where you have an option to either create a new blank presentation or use a template. And then the last way to do it, which is probably best practice, because yeah, I will show you my drive. It is quite messy at the moment. You can navigate to the waffle there, go to Drive, and then from there you're going to create a new Google Slides presentation. So what I'm going to show you is I have used a lot of the templates that we'll use today just to play around and get used to it. And then what happens if you just use these options, if you just go to Google Slides directly and create a new presentation, it will just go and plonk itself down in your root folder, and then you will have all of this mess. So we don't really want that. Best practice is to keep your drive organized, keep it healthy and clean. So from here, I'm going to go into my training folder. And we are busy with Google Fundamentals 4, so I'm going to create a new slides presentation there. And then it's very easy. You right-click, boom, you navigate down, and there it is, Google Slides. And this little arrow here will either then give you an option to create a blank presentation or to use a template. So I will just say blank presentation. And there we go. It's just taking a moment to load. Okay. I think it's almost there. The internet is almost on its Christmas holiday, it seems. Okay. So first things, we want to give this thing a title, because otherwise it's just going to sit in your drive and it's going to call itself Untitled Presentation. So for the day, I'm just going to be a narcissist and call it by my name, Fun for. And then in your drive, that will be the name of this presentation. Now, before we get to all the fun stuff within slides, I just want to show you that you can actually now, you can download these presentations. Just like you can download a Google Doc and you can download a Google Sheet, it's very easy. You go to File, in the corner File, scroll down to download, and it will give you various options. In what format do you want to download this presentation? So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to download it as a Microsoft PowerPoint. Most of us have seen Microsoft PowerPoints. You've either worked with it or you've seen it in a workshop or wherever or in class. So I think most of us are familiar with this. So download Microsoft PowerPoint. And there it is. That is my download. I'm going to go back to my drive now, because as easy as it is to download it, it's just as easy to upload it again. It is now, however, downloaded onto my machine. So that file that I'm seeing right there will land in my downloads folder on my machine itself. So that means it's not a collaborative space anymore. It is just a document that I myself can now manipulate and edit and everything, but whoever had access to it before, while it was still on the drive as a Google Slides presentation, will not have access to it anymore. But if I upload it again, see, this is a nifty trick. You just click and drag, and there it will upload again. There you go. But this icon now is different from this icon. This icon at the top is the Google Slides icon. So it will automatically, if I double click on this, it will open in Google Slides. But if I double click on this, it's going to look, oh, it's actually opening in Google Slides. It's not supposed to do that, silly thing. So it should have actually just opened in a different viewer, but I think my settings are maybe different. But if I open it in Google Slides, depending on your sharing options, your sharing settings within that folder, it will now be a collaborative space yet again. Just make sure that your sharing settings are open to whoever you wanted it to share it with. Okay, so downloading, easy peasy, uploading, easy peasy. There we go. Okay, so let's move on to the fun stuff, which is the actual slides itself. I'm just going to close all of these things that my machine doesn't become cluttered. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to paste a link in the in the chat. And then I would like for you all to open that. This last link I just pasted, if you click on that, it's going to take you to a landing page that shows you this. So like I said, this is a very interactive workshop. So when you do, you learn easier, just like we see with our students in class. A lot of the time we go, no, I can just look at this, no. But use your machine, click on it, say, make a copy. And then you will get this beautifully prepared template that our e-advisor prepared, and we're going to play around on this. Okay. Something that I forgot to mention just earlier with the conversion, the download of the Google Slides, or even if you download a Google Doc or Google Sheets, the conversion to Microsoft Office is not always very accurate, so your formatting might change either subtly or quite a bit. So it's not 100% converted the way, it won't be converted 100% the way you want it to be converted. So just be aware of that. Okay. Excuse me, I still have a chest cold. I don't want to burst your ears, apologies. Okay, so we are now at the template here, and we want to change the title of the Google Slides presentation at the top. So again, I'm going to be very vain, call it by my own name, and say Google Fun 4. And that is the title it will get in my drive as well. So first things first, let's change this. Change this title to your name. So it's as easy as scroll your mouse over that, click on it, and it will give you an option to then change whatever is written there. I'm going to change it to my name. There we go. And then we're going to look at how to change the theme, because a white presentation is quite boring, especially if you show it to your students. Maybe adding some color or some images will make it a bit more accessible visually. Okay, so I hope everyone's done that. Okay. So up here, you will get the option. So, okay, so first things, you won't get the options if you are still active in this text box. So to get yourself out of the text box, just click on a white space outside of it. Anywhere, you can click here, there, anywhere. And then you will have these options: background, layout, theme, or transition. First things, we're going to look at the theme. That will change the whole look of the presentation. So if you click on theme, it will give you all of these default options on the side, like the default options that Google provides, but they're not always very interesting, but you can change it as you go along. We're not going to get into that today necessarily and how to download other themes. But as you get more comfortable with this platform and this app, you'll see there is a need to sort of play around and just have fun with it. So for today, let's pick this one. No, I don't want that one. I want this one. You can choose any theme you want, but I just like the color pink. So that is now my theme. Now, what I've done in the past, and I've been very silly, I didn't know this was possible, is I went to every single slide individually. I changed the look of it. But there's an easier way to do it. You just go to View, right up there, go to View, scroll down, and then you see this option for Master. You click on that. And it will give you the master copy of this theme. I just want to close this on the side. Okay, so this will give you the master copy. So if you change something on this master slide at the top, so make sure you click on this one right at the top, because then it says master layouts, blah, 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 but click on the master one. If you change the font on this, it will have a ripple effect on all your slides that you do in this presentation from now on. So I'm going to change this font at the top by clicking on it. It's just a text box like we did with by changing your name on the first slide. So click on it. There we go. And I'm going to change the font to something wacky. Let's go for Homemade Apple. Google has a lot of very, very nice fonts. So don't get stuck with the boring stuff. Play around, have fun with it. So I'm going to choose this Homemade Apple, click on it, and there you see my font has changed on the layout. So all the title fonts on every slide will now be this font, which I think is quite nice. And then if I want to change the rest of the font within this slides presentation, I can go to the next text box, which is all these different levels of font. So I'm going to change the first one to, let's see, I want to use Poppins. Apparently Poppins is a very good font to use for, especially for primary school kids, because it's very close to how you teach them to write by hand. So there we go. And now that font will be applied to all of the rest of the slides. Let's just for fun change this one as well. Hopefully you're playing along on your side and changing some fonts. Some of these fonts are not really easy to read, so make sure you get something that can read easily. Let's go for this one. Cinzel. Cinzel. Anyway, there we go. And so you can go along and change all of these fonts. Just from personal experience, yes, we're having fun today and playing around with fonts, but if you use something in a presentation like this, it is more digestible if you just choose like 2 fonts and just stick to that instead of having like every other word being a different font, because it distracts the reader a bit. Okay, so now we're done with the master slide. And there we go. It is now changed. This font is also changed. We will get to the second slide in a second. So just to recap that, when you want to change the master slide and all the fonts, you go to View, and then click on Master, and it will take you to this. And then you just click on the master slide, and you edit it from there. Okay. So I'm going to just I'm going to make a new slide. And if you want to create a new slide, there's a little plus up here. Makes it very easy, because I usually just clicked on the slide and pressed enter, and then that happens. Well, apparently nothing. Why aren't you doing anything? And then that happens. So it just duplicates the slide on which you were when you pressed enter. And I don't necessarily want 2 title slides to begin with. So I'm just going to delete that. And then go to the plus. And there you have various options of the sort of slide that you want to insert. So let's go to, I'm going to use this one. You can choose whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. Okay. I'm going to change my title to Mr. Bean. He is my theme for the day. It being Christmas around the corner and all of that. So, how to draw a shape. You navigate to the top over here. You see a little circle and sort of a half a square. You click on it and it gives you all sorts of options for shapes. So these are basic shapes that you can use, some arrows, some call-outs, you know, if you have a character speaking, and an equation, something that I don't use because I teach drama. I barely know what all of this means. So I'm just going to use a very basic shape. And I'm going to use a rounded rectangle. And then you have this little plus on the screen, and you just click and drag. And there is a shape. It's not very attractive, but there it is. So now we can change it up as well. If you've used a rounded rectangle or any sort of rounded shape, it will give you a little orange diamond here in the corner. And that you can click on, and you can, no, don't do that. It doesn't, there we go. Don't know why it's, there we go. Let's just make it bigger. Maybe that will work. And it will change the rounding, the angle of the roundness. There goes my vocabulary. Okay, so that will happen. You can change the shape just as you like it. Jayson, do we have any questions in the chat?
No questions in the chat, Andrea.
Fantastic. Good news. No news is good news. Okay, so now we want to change this ugly-ish gray color to something else. And up here we have like a fallen paint pot, a full color. You click on that, and you can choose any of these colors, or you can customize it. I won't go into that, but you can customize the color just as you want. The other nice thing here is you can use the gradient, which means that it's a sort of a fade. And I kind of like this. It's softer than just a hard, flat, 2-dimensional color. So I'll go for a purple gradient like this one. And it makes it a little bit prettier than the hard gray. Now that we've changed the full of that, you can also change the border, because you won't even see the border now, but it's sort of a bluish hue. But I want to change it to black. So your border options are over here, right next to the paint pot, and it says border color. You can click on it, and I want it black. And again, you won't really see the difference now, but if I make it thicker, which is the option right next to that border color that says border weight, I'm going to make that 8 pixels. And there we go. That border is now nice and dark. And then you can become a little bit more wacky if you want to, and you can change the dash, the border dash. So it's either a solid line or little dots. Let's see how that looks. That looks absolutely horrible, but we know what it looks like. You can change it to something like that. I'm just going to keep it with a solid line. Okay. So this box, yes, you can go and you can insert a text box somewhere, but you can also use the shape that you have drawn as a text box. And it's as easy as double-clicking on it. I'm going to show you again. I don't know what the resolution is if you can see my cursor flashing there, but I'll do it again. Click on the box, double-click, and we can add some text to it. Let's say, Merry festive, festive season. And now you can change the font of this as well. And this works exactly the same as a Google Doc. So I'm going to make it bold. And I don't like Arial. It's too boring. Let's go for lobster. And I'm going to make it bigger as well. Change the font of it there, make it a bit bigger. And I'm going to put it in the middle of the shape. So a line. And we put it in the middle, right there. Even a little bit bigger. Okay. And there we have a text box. Now the difference between this and a text box is, yes, you can change the background of a text box, all of that, but you won't be able to change the size, the shape afterwards. So the next thing I want to show you is actually changing this shape, because now I want to make it a call out. I want to have it that someone's actually saying this. So you right click on it, and you just choose the option, change shape, and I'm going to go for a call out, and I'm using this one. Apologies. So now it is the call out. Just to recap, if you want to change the shape, you just right click on it, and then you go for change shape, and you can choose whatever you like. Again, with the text box, this is not an option. So it's nicer to use the shape and then work from there. And what I like about a call out is you can change this angle at the bottom, again, by just clicking on that orange diamond and then just dragging it around. I'm going to put it over here. Okay. So with the slides, you can also change the background. So maybe I'm not a massive fan of the pink anymore, and then I want to use an image rather. So if I want to change this background, again, we go to the options here at the top, the same bar we used for theme. You have the option for background. So I'll click on that. And now you have various options. So either you can just change the background. You can again use a gradient to change the background. But I want to choose a picture now. I'm in a festive mood. I'm going to choose a picture. And it will give you various options. You can either upload from your machine, or you can take a selfie if you want to. You can paste a URL. You can access your photos on the Google platform, Google Drive, or Google Image Search. So we will start with the image search. We should say that fast. Image search. And I want a Christmas image. Okay, let's go for this one. Just click on it. It will give you an option to insert. And now it will either just insert it into this slide that you have highlighted, or you can add it to the theme. See, there it is. And I'm going to add it to the theme, and then hopefully it will pop up on all of my slides. And just say done. There we go. very Christmassy. And there is the slide that I was working on. I'm just going to change this font so it's white. Otherwise, we won't be able to read it. Boom. Okay. The other option you have is to insert an image from your Google Drive. So again, we go to Insert, Image, and there I have the option to go to Drive. I just realized I went to Insert Image now and not the theme. I'm so sorry if I gave you a headache now. Let's go to Background again. Okay, so Background, choose Image, and then you can go to your Google Drive and navigate to wherever you have saved an image in the past. So mine will be here in Training, Google Fundamentals. I think this is for. Going to say Add to Theme. Click Done, and there we go. We have Monty Python on all of the slides. Okay, just because I think I might have confused you now, I'm going to do it again. Background. I want to change it back to that Christmas image. And you say Insert, Add to Theme. There we go. And it's back to our festive season. Okay. Let me just see on my notes. Okay, now we will get to inserting an image. So it's very simple to insert an image. It has the same options that you had with the background images. You can either upload something from your machine itself or do a Google search or use something from your drive. You right-click on the slide that you want to insert an image on. So right-click. I right-clicked on the text box, don't do that. Right-click on a normal space. Why is it doing this? No. Let's go to the other option, Insert. Does anyone have any questions? Because I feel like I've just confused everyone. Jayson, how's it looking?
There are no questions in the chat ender.
Okay, are you still with me? I haven't given you a headache yet.
No, I'm still with you.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's go to Insert. And there's the option to insert an image. I will search the web for this because I want an image of Mr. Bean saying Merry Festive Season. Search the web. Okay, and it gives you this little pop-up on the right. Search for images. I want Mr. Bean. And I think I will choose this one. If you've decided on the picture, just click on it. And at the bottom, it says Insert. Click on that. And there he is in all of his glory. So to change this image, you have quite a few options. You can just drag it on the top and we'll make it larger. I want him a little bit smaller. And if you want to, if you have another image with too much space on the side, you can crop it. So I'm just going to insert another image so that you can see how that works. So again, we go to Insert, Image, search the web. We still have the Mr. Bean search open, which is great. And I will use his little teddy bear. Insert. And there it is. So this image I'm going to make a little smaller as well, but I want to get rid of some of this, the blue space on the sides. And for that, we can use the crop option. So if you've highlighted this image, which just means that you have clicked on it, it will give you the crop option right there. So it says crop image, and you click on that, and it will give you these little black brackets on the side, and that you can now just drag however you want. So if I drag it to there, it's going to cut out his head, which we don't want. Just going to do this, and if I'm happy with that, just click on that crop image icon again. Boom. I'll recap that quickly. So if you want to crop an image, click on it, go to the crop image here at the top. That option, it gives you the black brackets. You can use any of them. So let's use the side one. I'm going to crop it on this side. I'm going to crop it at the top. And if you're happy with the crop, just click on the crop icon again. Boom. And there's this little teddy bear. Just going to make it a little bit smaller. So with images, you have so many options. You can really alter the image. Again, if you've highlighted it, right-click on it, and it gives you format options. You have so many options here. I'm not going to go through everything now, but I just want to show you some of the nicer ones. So you can recolor it, which means you can make it, let's stick with pink. Very bizarre look for his teddy bear, but you can recolor it. You can use a drop shadow for it. I love a drop shadow because it gives it some depth. And you can play around with these toggles. See, there's the drop shadow on the image. And you can change all of these things to your heart's desire. You can put in a reflection. See, there is reflected. You can even alter that. I won't go into that into too much depth now, because you can play around with it in your own time. But that's it. If you want these options, again, you just right-click on the image and you scroll down until you find Format Options. Fantastic. Okay, so I've mentioned now that you can use this shape as a text box. I'm just going to make it a little smaller so I have more space to work on. There you go. I want to change this so he's actually saying it. And now I want to insert a text box just to show you how that works as well. So you say insert, and there's the option second from the top is text box. Click on it. And now you can draw on the slide where you want to insert this text box. So I want it there. Now, as you see, this text box doesn't have any default background color. It's transparent, so you see the background of the slide itself. And I can type here, Happy New Year. Let's make it bold. And we will center it. Make it a bit smaller. And there is our text box. If you want to move it, you just highlight it and you wait for that little like 4-direction arrow thing to pop up, and you can move it around. Boom. You can change the background of this to, let's go for like a yellowish color, and you can also change the border just like we did with the shape. So the border we're going to make black, and we're going to make it a little heavier. There we go. And that's the text box. Any questions so far? In fact, let's just see if I've actually put anyone to sleep yet. Raise your hands if you're still happy and enthusiastic and getting everything that I'm saying. That looks good. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's continue. Okay. This thing I never knew about. It's a line connector. And thank you, our e-advisor Yaku, for teaching this, because it changed my life just a little bit. So a line connector, it helps if you're explaining like a process or something like that. And if you want to connect these various elements on your slide, So the line connector is over here. It's sort of a straight line with two little dots at the end. And I'm going to select just a normal line. No, I want to select a curved line. Why not? And now I can connect these elements to each other. So I can, I'm not even clicking. So it's showing me these purple dots. And that's where I want to click. And then I drag my line to another connector, which is maybe there. And then these two elements are now connected. So that means that if I move this, that line, let's just make that a bit thicker. So you can see, and I'll make it black. That line will now move along no matter where I drag this box. How cool is that? So let's put another line connector in with another element. So I'll connect the teddy bear to Happy New Year as well. I'll make it black and a little thicker. And now I can move the teddy bear, and there goes the line. So instead of you moving all the individual elements and then moving your lines along with it, this thing just goes along. It plays the game with you. And if you want to put little arrows on the ends of these lines, that's also easy. So you just click on the line. You go to that line connector again. No, I'm talking absolute nonsense. You click on the line and you go to these options. It's a straight line with like a red dot, a red arrow on the side. And there you have various options you can choose from. I'm going to put an arrow here, and I'm going to put an arrow on the other side. How cool is that? And this you can edit just like you edit an image. You can put a drop shadow in it. You can put a reflection in it. You can make it sort of transparent. Again, all of these things, as you get comfortable with Google Slides, you will definitely allow yourself to start playing around with it. Okay, and now for the one thing that I'm sure students enjoy doing in their presentations is how do you do animations? Because now we have the slides presentation, but if I click present here at the top, just do this. If I go to present, it's going to be straightforward. There's my slide number 1, slide number 2, slide number 3. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. So let's animate Mr. Bean himself. So you click on him, right click, and there's your option that says animate. There we go. So all of these individual elements, the lines, the teddy bear, the box, that everything can become animated. But my tip to you is don't do too much animation because it can become a little bit distracting if you have things flying in and out and twirling and everything. And in Google Slides, we don't have all the options that the Microsoft PowerPoint has because that has become quite a circus with all of its options. This is definitely simplified, and I think, yeah, I think it's better. Okay, so let's have Mr. Bean. Let's say when I open the slide and I click, so here we have the options on when is this animation going to happen. So seeing as this is the first animation, I'm going to say it's on click, and I want it to not fade in, that's a little boring. I want him to fly in from the right. So if you want things to appear, they will fly in, they will zoom in, they will fade in. If you want them to disappear at the end, they will fly out, or they will zoom out or fade out. Okay, so I want them to fly in from the right. And I want it to happen sort of at a medium speed. So this slider then dictates the speed at which it happens. So let's see what that looks like quickly. At the bottom here, we have an option play, and then you can just check what you've done. Play, there's the slide. Now, if I click, he will come in from the right. Click. That's my Mr. Bean voice. I have to work on it. So there he is. Now you can animate all of the other elements as well if you want to. Just click stop. And then it takes us back to this, the object animations. I want this to also pop in, but I want it to come in after he's appeared, after Mr. Bean has appeared. So you just say add animation. That's the element that I want to animate, and I want it to fly in from the top. And I want it to happen very fast. And this one is not going to happen on a click. It's going to happen right after Mr. Bean has landed in his spot. So after previous, that's the option that I'm going to use. And let's see what that looks like. So I press play. There's the slide. I need to click in order for Mr. Bean to appear. There he is. And Merry Festive Season. There we go. So these options are actually quite fun if you want your students to start sort of playing around with animations. I know some subjects enjoy doing that with drama. The subject that I teach, it's a fun thing to utilize for certain projects. So now let's say we've animated a lot of these elements and you want to flip around the order in which it's done. So I want Mr. Bean to come in after that dialog box. Then you just use these gray dots on the side and you can move it up and down to your heart's desire. Excuse me. Okay. Now again, the slides themselves have not been animated. They have not been given a transition. The option here then is to go to slide transition. We were just looking at object animations. Now we're going to look at slide transition. At the moment, it says it has none. So if you click on this arrow, it's going to give you some options. And I want it to be very flashy, so I'm going to say gallery. And then I want it to be applied to all of the slides, so I don't have to go and program all of the slides individually. Apply to all slides, and now I'm going to press play so you can see what this looks like. Slide number 1, and if I click, it'll go to the next slide. No, it will not, apparently. Let's just do present rather. Present. It goes to the next slide. And if I click, it'll go to the next slide. And remember, when I click here, Mr. Bean will appear, and then he will say something to us. And there we go. And then the last thing I want to show you in Google Slides is to add a link. You can add a link to any element in your slide, which is fantastic. Because if you're presenting in front of a class or in front of colleagues, maybe you wanted to go to a website. So for you, it'll just simplify the process. Instead of then closing the presentation and going to the website, I am now just going to add a link to the teddy bear, and then when I do the presentation in class or in a boardroom or wherever, I just click on that link. Okay, so right click. Oh, where is this? It's not giving me an option there. Let's try something else. Let's try this element. There we go. So I'm going to add a link to this element right here. Click on it, right click, and it says link. So now you can either add a link to an external source like a website, or you can add a link to one of the slides within this presentation. So if you choose this, slides in this presentation, you can use any of these slides, and when you click on this, it will take you to that slide again. But I'm not going to use that for this example. I'm going to use www.mrbean.com, and there we have it. That is the website. I choose this one, and I say apply. And there we have it. So if I present this now, which I'm just going to show you, present, I click, here he comes, and now this is an active link. I can click on it, and it will take me to the official Mr. Bean website. And that is it. Okay, so this is now the time and the chance you have for some self-exploration. So within this template that we shared in the chat, we have some instructions. Let me just highlight this. I'm just going to change the font color so you see it on mine. It's on slide 2. And we want you to play around. Let me just make this a little bigger. Apparently, I have not chosen the best fonts for this on this background. But hey, you live, you learn. I'm going to change the background of this to white. And there we have some instructions. So for the next few minutes, the idea is for you to play around on this template. So you're going to draw one fold shape, different colors for the fold. So try various shapes, change the background, add an image. You can add one text box, and then after adding the content, add some animations to your various elements within your Google Slides presentation. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. I'm not disappearing. I'm right here. I'm going to mute my mic. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat or switch your mic on, and we are happy to assist. Jayson and myself are happy to assist. Okay. So use that if you want to create a new template. If you've played around on this one and it's a mess, you can just click on that link again and it will take you to a clean template. Okay, so here goes my mic. If I go and find that, there we go, muting mic. So after you've played around for a while now, I'm still going to give you a few minutes for that. Let's say about 5-6 minutes. We want you to share the link in the chat. So in 5 minutes time, I'm going to show you how to do that. And then Jayson is going to play around and have a look at your templates while I move on to Google Sheets. And the reason for this is we just want you to see that it's possible and not be scared of it. You cannot actually make a mistake. Again, your computer will not explode. You will not explode. Just have fun with it. Okay, so in 5 minutes, I'll show you how to share that link in the chat.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
May I ask a question, please?
Sure, go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much for your enthusiasm this time of the year. You've got me in the Christmassy spirit. I am having a bit of trouble inserting a link to my picture, for example, or to my text box. Could you kindly run through that again, please?
Absolutely. I understand what you mean, because now when I use the example of an image, it didn't want to actually give me the option to add a link. But when I was playing around with it earlier, it did give me the option. So I'm not quite sure. Jaco, if you're still on the call, maybe you can provide some clarity why certain elements won't give you the option.
And it's only inserting when I insert it, it only inserts the text. For example, the link, the address, it just inserts that. It doesn't want to link to the actual YouTube video I'm trying to insert.
Okay, I hear you. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to, let's use this one. So I've highlighted the element that I want to use. It's not a picture. This is just the text box. Right click, link. Okay, so you're saying you're using a YouTube video. So I'm going to use a YouTube video as an example and see how that works. Don't judge me on my YouTube choices. It feels like this might fit into the Christmas spirit if it's frozen.
Frozen, for sure.
Shh, stupid YouTube ads. Okay, so I'm going to use that link. Okay.
So you just copied the URL, okay?
Yeah, copy that URL, paste. Let's see if this works. Apply. Okay, so I'm going to present this now again and see if that link takes me to the lovely Frozen live show. Okay, click on it. And there we go.
Okay.
Ooh. So it's not gonna, when you copy and paste that URL within that link option, so you've right-clicked and you say link,
yes,
and you put that URL in there, it's not going to give you a drop-down option like it does with, like, if you type in a website. Let's say the Mr. Bean one again. Mr. Bean. So this one searches for the website itself, and it gives you like the official, yes, this website exists. Yeah. So if you do YouTube, it's not going to do that. It seems like that's the case.
And that's why it's only inserting the URL and not actually linking it to anything. So I must get to a website. Otherwise, I need to take a different path to insert a video.
Well, it will still insert the video because there it is. It's linked it to that YouTube video. I'm wondering now, are you working from a school domain?
Yes.
Is it a YouTube video that could be questioned by the firewall? Because sometimes like they have weird, like, what do you call it, parameters on these videos, and sometimes like the school domains, they just don't allow for certain videos to play. But let's try it again with another video. Let's go to another Mr. Bean video. Damn it, don't judge me, people. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this URL again. Copy. Let's remove. There we go. So link.
I tried a different route, and I inserted the video via videos under insert video. But I want to link it to the website. So let me try linking it to a website itself.
Okay, I see what you mean here. It just gives me the address. Let me just. No, man, don't do that. Happy New Year. Don't change my thing. Cool. Link.
No, I just inserted a website, and it's still simply inserting the website in my text box.
I'm wondering if it's because the text itself is highlighted, because it just literally inserted the text into the text itself, which it shouldn't do.
Picture.
Let's do this.
It doesn't even give me, it doesn't want to attach to the picture, to the,
Okay, let's see. Let's use another one. So if I use this text box, you see I'm not highlighting the text now. It's just the text box itself, because the moment I go to the text, the cursor will blink, and that means I'm editing the text itself and not the text box. So now I've highlighted this text box. Let's see if it works. And I right-click, link. I still have that URL in my clipboard, so I'm just going to paste it, apply, and there we go. So make sure, I hope this solves it, but make sure when you insert it into an element that it's not actually within the text itself. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit finicky, like sometimes selecting the text box itself and then selecting the text.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and that, again, that comes with playing around and, not being scared of things exploding and all of that.
How are you going to know on the viewer side that there is something linked? Or are you still getting to that?
So, yeah, you always test it out with being just present. So let's check it. So I'll go to present. And now this should be a link. So if I click on it, it should take me to the YouTube video. There we go.
Yeah.
I really don't want to see him in a bathing costume, so I'm going to close this. Okay, so I hope that sort of solved your problem, your question.
Thank you.
Cool.
I will lower my hand now.
Okay, anyone else have something to ask at this stage? Okay, lekker. So I'm going to show you how to share this presentation. People, we don't care if it's the ugliest thing you've ever created. It really doesn't matter. You can go back to this template and you can play around. You can create your own thing at some point. I just want to show you how to share it. So we've done sharing options in Docs and in Drive, but just to recap. So at this stage, it's only visible to me. So share. And for this exercise, I want you to open it up to everyone. So at the moment, it's just going to be restricted to Stellenbosch High because that's where I teach. I'll click on that and I want to open it up. So use your drop down. I want to open it up to anyone with the link. So if I share this link now in the chat box, you will be able to access it no matter what domain you're using. Or if you're using a private Gmail account, or if you're using the school's domain. So anyone with link, click on that. And let's say you guys can comment on it. You can tell me how horrible it is and I'm useless, or you can tell me I'm brilliant and the next Picasso, whatever you want. Go, commenter, and now I want to copy the link. Just click on that. I say done. I'll go to the chat and then I just paste it here. And that should take you to my wonderful presentation. I'll recap. So when you want to share, you go to this yellow option in the right-hand corner. I can already see there's someone looking at it. Click on share. It gives you this dialog box and you go to the bottom and you just make sure that anyone with link can have a look at it. And then you choose the option either viewer or commenter. I don't think you should make everyone an editor now necessarily, because then it's going to be a jumble. But hey, if you're up for some sports, go ahead. You can choose it to whichever option. Copy link, say done, go to the chat, and you paste it there. So at this stage, it's just my sad little presentation. Let's see if you can add some to that, and then we can move on to sheets. I feel very lonely with my link.
I'm sorry, I'm struggling with the link.
No, for sure. Let's recap. Okay. So I'll go to the presentation again. You see the share button here at the top, the yellow one. Fantastic. Click, dialog box, and you go to the bottom dialog box.
Share, and then, yeah, it doesn't give me the same get link. You have a get link. Anyone on the internet with this link can comment. You have that option. I have a get link. Vista Gymnasium, anyone in this link with this.
Yes, okay. So it should give you an option to say change.
Okay, change is there, yes.
And then this is probably what you saw to begin with. Anyone in this group. But you want to change it to anyone with this link. So there's a little diamond that's pointing downwards. Click on that.
Yes.
And then the last. Yes, there we go. Boom shakalaka.
Ah.
And then you can change your editing rights here. So commenter or viewer or editor or whatever you want. When you're done, just click copy link.
Oh. Okay.
And that will copy it to a clipboard and say you're done.
Gotcha. And then I just do.
You go back to the chat. You can right click and then just say paste.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. I feel like I'm being very helpful. This helps my ego.
Not lonely anymore.
Thanks, Mitty. Oh, I'm so sorry about the cough. Okay, so I've just shared my presentation twice. But I'm going to close my Google Slides presentation and we will move on with our lives to Sheets. Okay, so while you're pasting your things there, you can have a look. at the end rather, so at least it's there now. And again, if you have any questions, just raise your hand or just type it in the chat box and Jayson or myself will get back to you as soon as we can. Okay, I'm closing this for now. I'm closing my Google Slides. And then the same story here with creating a new Google Sheets, which is very similar to Microsoft Excel. Now, the first time I heard Excel, it just gave me a teeny tiny little heart attack, and I thought only the clever people can use this because it's mathematics. But you know what? I got over myself and I started playing around, and Google Sheets is actually a little bit more user-friendly. So I think if you get into Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel might not be as daunting as you think it is. Okay, so same thing here. We click on the plus sign to create a new tab, and you can either type in sheets.google.com, and it will take you to the app's landing page where you can either create a blank sheet or you can use one of the templates already provided. Or you can go to, I've just opened the new tab, or you can navigate to the waffle and you can navigate to Sheets, click on it, and it will take you to the same landing page where you can create blank or use a template. But best practice, if you remember, is to open that new tab, go to your Drive, because if you create something within Drive, it means it's organized, it's not messy, and your Drive doesn't become a chaotic mess. Okay. So I'm going to open a new Sheets in this folder, Training, and Google Fundamentals 4. And if I right click on some white space here, it gives me the option to create Google Sheets. So if you use this arrow to the right, you can either create a blank spreadsheet, or you can use a template. So we're going to create a blank spreadsheet. Click on that, and it will take you to a brand new Google Sheets. So we're not going to play around in this one. We're going to use a template for that, but I just want to show you. I'm going to change the title here at the top, just like with docs and with slides. It's very easy to change. I'm going to boost my ego and use my own name, Google Fun 4. And now it should be in my Drive. But let's say, okay, so I've created this file in one of my folders, but I'm not happy with where it is now and I want to move it to a different folder. You can use this move button at the top. We've covered this in Google Drive, so it's the same functionality. You can just click on it, and then you can move it to whichever folder you want to. I'm not going to do that right now, but just so you know, it is a possibility. So I'm going to close this one and just refresh this. There we go. Google Fun 4, my Sheets is there. Again, just like with slides and docs, you can download this. So if you right-click, it'll give you an option to download, and it automatically converts to Excel when you use that method. So now it's downloaded in Excel. I have Microsoft Office on my machine, so if I open it, it will open on my machine in Microsoft Excel. The conversion between Google Sheets and Excel, I think, is quite accurate, more accurate than with like docs or slides, but I'm not quite sure because I haven't been that experimental in Sheets. Just because the formulas, the more complex formulas, are definitely not my strong suit. I will leave that to the WCED with the CMS spreadsheets. Okay, so we've downloaded. You can also upload it again. Again, easy trick. You can just click on that and drag it to the folder and upload it. And there it is. So again, this icon is different. That is the Google Sheets icon. This is Microsoft Excel icon. Now, if I double click it, it should open up in Sheets. And now it is a collaborative space again. Because remember, when you download something and it's on your machine, it's not collaborative, it's just you working on it. When you upload it and you change the sharing options like we did in Slides and in Docs and in Drive, then other people will be able to collaborate with you on this document. I'm just closing all of this so it's not messy, and then I'm going to use the next template, copy and paste it into the chat. So the same thing goes here. Click on this link that I'm pasting right now. There we go. It's a HTTPS docs.google.com spreadsheets. It's that one right at the bottom. And that will take you to a landing page that looks like this. Google Sheets, copy document, make a copy. And I want all of you to play along. So click this button, make a copy. It's just taking its sweet old time, but it will get there. There we go. Okay. Do not look at this yet. We're going to work through this step by step. We're going to do something else first, but don't look at this quite yet. I'm going to open a new tab and then work on that. But before we do that, let's just change the title, just like we did in Slides. Just change the title of the document to something else. I'm going to change my name, Google. 1, 4, and we'll do that. Okay, just an indication, just raise your hands if everyone is happy with the template, if you've been able to access it. It'd be great to see if everyone's there. Just give me a hand raise. Thank you, Antoinette. Some more hand raises, please. It's good for the ego on this side. Thank you, Jayson. Lekker, fantastic. There we go. Okay. That makes me happy enough. And you can lower your hand again. Thank you so much. Cool. Okay. So I'm not going to look at this quite yet. I want to show you a few other things before we get to this one. So here, right at the bottom of on the left, you see Add Sheet. So just click that, and it will take you to a new tab within the same document. So you didn't open a new document. This is the same document, just a different sheet. You can rename the sheet here at the bottom. So I'm just going to call it lekker. Okay. So in Excel, it's important, in Sheets, just as in Excel, it's important to understand the naming of the different cells. So we have the columns at the top, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that goes on to infinity. Those are the columns, and the rows are to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. So if I refer to this cell, it's going to be C3. And this one would be H7. And so on and so on. So it's important to just know that's how it works. You put the name of the column first, the alphabet, H7, or whatever, and that will help you to write your formulas. Okay, we can change the sizing of the columns just by dragging there at the top. So I have my mouse on these letters, the column names at the top, and it gives me an arrow. And you can change that. You can change the sizing. But I'm just going to input some information here. Sunny away. Yeah, it's 5 sweeties and 10 packets of chips. Yanni, no. Has 20 sweeties and 1 packet of chips. And Nicole, Winckler, not being very creative now, has 4 sweeties and 100 packet of chips. Fantastic. Some random data just to show you how this works. In fact, let's just give her a very long surname. Okay. So you can change the sizes of these columns to suit whatever the content of the cell is. So you can change them individually, but you see there it clips off. If I double click on that, it will automatically go to the minimum that is required to show everything within that column. So if I double click on this, the column will become very small. There we go. Because you can still see all the content of the cells. This one you can double click and it will go very small as well as this one. But now that looks a bit wonky maybe. Now we want to change all of the cells, all of the columns, cells at the same time. So we can just highlight the columns and then drag, let's say, column D and make it a bit bigger. And all of the columns will then become the size of column D. Boom, magic. The same goes with the rows. So if I highlight the rows, I can make them all bigger at the same time and they will become the same size. And now you can change where the content of the cell lies within the cell. So all of these tricks are just to make your presentation, your sheets just look a little better. So you can add color and you can change the font. Let's just change the font to something else to show you how that works. You can either choose the cells individually, or a very cool trick that I actually learned by doing this training is this block below FX. If you click on that, it selects all of the cells in the whole sheet. And then we can change the font. Let's go for Century Gothic. It's a nice classic one. I wanted it a little bigger. And there we go. Now I want to change where the information lies within the cell. So let's just say select all again. So it's this block under FX. And then it is this text wrapping option, I believe. No, it's not that one. It's this one. It's next to text wrapping. This one says vertical align. So I want it centered. And you see all of this information jumped to the center of the rows. Okay, so I feel like I might be going a little bit too fast. I hope everyone is okay. If you're not, please just shout out in the chat and we will get to you as soon as possible. Okay, so now I have this data, this random data in here. Just want to make that bigger. Excuse me. But I want to put something at the top. And now you can insert a row. You can also insert a column. So highlight the row that you want something inserted on top of. So I want to insert here, right click, and it says insert one above. And there we go, a brand new row. Everything is moved down. So you didn't have to copy and paste something in a different spot. It's just insert row. You can also insert a column. So you can right click on a column and you can insert either to the left or to the right. I'm going to insert something here, but nah, I don't want to use it. So you can just right click on it and say either hide column, because maybe you do want to put something in there, but you don't necessarily want to see it all the time. You can just hide the column or you can delete the column. And I'm going to delete it. So here I want to put in some information about this data that I've inserted into the cells. So this is name, surname, sweet peas, and chips. And now we know what this data is, but still you want some definition between the title, the indicator of what the data is, and the data itself. So highlight the row, and you can go and play around with some font changes, like make it bold. Or let's put a background color to it. So I'm going to highlight these 4 cells and just put a nice pink to it. Why not? And you can also add a border to that. Now, borders are quite nice because personally, my eyes, when I see something like this, I want to see borders just because otherwise it becomes a bit mushy. But you have quite a wide variety of how you want these borders to look. So maybe you just want a frame around everything. And then you can use that border right there. That just gives you a little line. But if you want a border around all of the cells, you can highlight them, which is just click and drag. I'll show you again. Click, you drag. And now I want a border around everything. Let me just try it again. Boom. There we go. So the reason that didn't work was because it was already pre-selected. So I just cleared it. This clears all of the borders. And then you can reselect the border type that you want. And there we go. You can also move this around within the cells, just like with Google Docs. I'm going to align it in the center and just make it a bit bigger. Fantastic. So the idea with Sheets is that you can insert a lot of data and organize it in whichever way that you prefer. Let me just check my notes if I've covered everything. Any questions there, Jayson? Are we still good?
We're still good, Andrea.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone snore, so that's also good news. Okay, so this is now where someone like me who teaches arts, the moment I hear anything mathematical, I freak out. But I'm going to show you some very, very, very basic things that you can do in Sheets. So when you get comfortable with these things, you can start playing around with the more complex formulas, and you can Google to find out how you can do certain things. But for now, let's just stick with adding. Okay, so I want to add the amounts of whatever these people are eating. So I can either now use this block and say 5 plus 10, and it's going to work like a calculator and just go, oh, idiot, I'm talking to myself. You have to start with equal. Apologies. The moment you use equal, the equal sign, it indicates that you're going to use a formula. So if you write equal, it's going to give you the amount of whatever these people have bought at the Snoopy. So I'll do that again. You add an equal sign to indicate that you are going to use a formula. And as you'll see, what I'm typing here is also appearing in this formula text box here at the top. I'll just make this a little bigger so you can see. Okay, so equals, and we want to add this. So 5 plus 10, boom. But now I want to change my data. Like I want to change this to 6. Now this calculation is not valid anymore because it didn't take into account the variables, because these things can vary. Okay, so let's work with variables. I'll delete that formula and then I'll say equal. Now, what I said at the beginning of being able to name the cells becomes important here, because you have to reference that in order to get an accurate formula for your calculation. I'm hearing myself speak and I sound like a math teacher. I feel so successful. Oh, okay. So let's say we want to add this. So we're going to use C2. So C2 and D2. So let's just type that in manually. C2 plus D2. So as I type it, you will see that it highlights the box, the cell that I'm actually referring to. And when I press enter, there's the amount. Now that has become an adding sum of variables. So now I can go and change this. So they didn't buy 10 packets of chips. They only bought 3. And then that changes the total. If I want this formula to be valid for Yanni and Nicole's snacking habits, I can just click and drag. And that formula will be used in all of those cells. Let me just type this in so we don't get confused. So these are the totals of whatever they've purchased. So now I can go and I can change these values right here, and it will kick it out on this side. So what we did now is we manually typed in C2 and D2. But, excuse me, we can also select the cells by just clicking on them, which is actually just easier than typing them. So I'm just deleting this. So we want to now create a formula. So sum, I'm going to say sum. No, let's do this. We're going to, we're doing the simpler version just for now. We'll get to the more complicated one. So we click on it, we say plus, click on the next block that you want to use, and press enter. Boom. And if you want to use that formula for the rest of the cells, just click and drag the bottom right corner. And there you go. Okay. Any questions at this stage? Jayson, are we okay?
Well on our way, Andrea.
Okay, so now we'll go back to the template that I've shared. And we're going to start following these instructions on the side. So the first one asks us, complete H13 using a formula. So H, it's that column, and 13 is down here. Boom. So it wants us to complete the total of these scores, which means it's quite a large sum. So you're not going to go equals this cell plus this cell plus this cell plus this cell. No, there's an easier way. And what Google Sheets does is it also gives you sort of an autocomplete option, which is sometimes quite convenient, but sometimes it gives you a very wacky thing that you should not use. And I'll get to that in a second. So again, we're going to start with an equal, because that indicates that you're going to use a formula. And now we're going to type in sum and then a bracket. So now the computer knows that you want to add something. Now you have to tell it, what do you want to add? And the easiest thing to do here is to select your cells. So I'm going to click and hold, and then drag it all the way down to the bottom. So you see equals sum, bracket, H2, which is the first one, colon, H11. So that means it's a whole range of numbers that it now has to add. It's not just this number plus this number, it's a whole range of numbers. And then you close the bracket and you hit enter. And that is the total of these scores. I'm going to do it again, because I'm quite sure some of your eyes just stretch for about 2 centimeters. So we're going to start with the equal. And here Google gives us an autocomplete option, which is actually the correct option, so we can use that. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm just going to do it manually so you can see what I do. So equal, we want to add stuff, so it's a sum, bracket. You have to choose the range that we want to add. So click the top one and drag it all the way down. And then close the bracket and hit enter. I know I'm asking this a lot, but I hope you're all still with me. Anything that anyone wants to ask at this stage? Okay. Great. Cool. Okay, so we've done that adding sum now, and now the instruction is complete H14 using a formula, and it wants us to get an average, which means obviously you have to add all of these scores and then divide it by 10. But Google has been very nice to us, and they have actually given us the option to just calculate an average without telling it how many people and all of that. You just select the range again. But this time, you're going to add equal. And here it gives us an autocomplete option. But this is now where Google is not too lekker, because it wants to actually include the total. Because it's just seeing a number, and if you add that total to the average, you're going to get a very, very bizarre average. So don't use that one. We're going to do it manually. You're going to type in average, bracket, select your range. So again, you click, you drag, close your bracket, and enter. And that is your average. I'll recap that very quickly, so let's delete it. You use the equal sign to indicate that you're going to use a formula. Average, bracket, choose your range, click, drag, close the bracket, and hit enter. And that is the average. So we have actually now completed number 1. We've completed number 2. The next instruction, instruction number 3, complete column G using a formula. So column G has nothing to do with numbers. And this is now where Sheets is actually quite cool, because you can add these values, which are not numbers, and create a full name. So let's see how that works. I can then either just type in, because again, you have to use a formula, equal. I can click the cells that I want to use. So it's going to give me something. Let's see what it gives me. No, that is not correct. That is horrible. I'm punishing myself. It's okay. So equals, so you're going to, that, and you're going to use the and sign. I know there's a different word for the and sign, and I can't remember what it is. Antoinette, maybe you can help me. There's a name for this. Okay, so E2 and that one, and it will give you that. This is not necessarily what you want, but the idea is that it does combine the 2 columns into one column, into one cell. But let's fix this. So let's put the first name first and the second name second. So we'll say equals Rebecca first, and then I'm going to use this ampersand. That's the word. It's an ampersand. Haha. Okay. I think, anyway, I'm very confident in that answer. So use the equal sign, click the cell that you're selecting, the and sign, and now if you want a space between the first name and the last name, you have to use quotation marks. So quotation mark, space, quotation mark, and another and sign, and then the last cell. We click enter, and there we go. Beautiful. First name, last name. I will show that again with Bill Blackwater. So we have the equal sign, which indicates a formula. Bill is going to be first. The and sign, quotation mark, space, end quotations, and sign, and Blackwater. And hit enter. Boom. Now we can do this for all of the cells by simply clicking on it, dragging that the little square at the bottom, and it should do it for all of the cells. So let's see what that looks like. Lekker. All of the names are organized. First name, space, and last name. Do we have any questions about this at this stage?
Yeah, no questions, Andrea.
Okay, it all seems quiet. Okay, so we've done this. Now this next one is very cool. I never knew that you could actually do this. I hope Yaku's not hearing me. He'll be very surprised to hear what I didn't know. So if you can freeze a row. which means if I scroll up and down like this, my whole sheet moves. But if you freeze something, that pane will just stay there no matter how much you scroll. So the best way to do it is to go to your column name, and you'll see a little hand appears right there at the top. There's a little hand. You click it, and you drag it up until the point that you want it frozen. So I want it frozen under surname, name, full name, and scores. So what happens now is if I scroll, this line, this row will just stay there. How cool is that? So this is not a massive spreadsheet, but you get massive things. I'm sure all of you, or most of you, have seen the Seamers spreadsheets as well from the department, and they are massive sheets. So they have certain panes, columns and rows that are frozen. So if you scroll, the whole thing doesn't move. So just to show you that again, I'm just going to unfreeze that first thing. And do that. Okay. So check the little hand, drag it down, and then it's frozen. Now this I can move down to there if I want to. And then that whole section will be frozen. But I don't want to do that. I just want the first line, the title line, to be frozen. There we go. So I'm scrolling and it's still frozen. So now we've done this one as well. The next one, instruction number 5, we're going to sort this according to surnames. Because like you see, this is not alphabetical. And us as teachers, we like things organized and neat in alphabetical order. So maybe just check my notes here. Okay. You're going to highlight everything that you wanted to want to sort. So highlight all of this. It's just a click and drag. And then you go to data, which is here at the top. So file, edit, view, insert, format, data. And then you can say sort range, because you don't want to necessarily sort the whole spreadsheet. You just want this little box. So sort range, you click on it. And now you can decide how you want to sort it. Do you want to sort it by surname, by first name, by scores, all of that? And I want to sort it by the surname, which is in column E. And I want it sorted from A to Z. So you can click the drop down if you want to use another option, but this one is perfect. And I want to sort. And there it is in alphabetical order. And it didn't change any of the information. All of the scores for that specific learner jumped with the surname. Because if you just sort one column, it's going to sort all of the, okay, this should not have been sorted. Let me just fix my mistake. I want to sort this range. So data, sort range. I want it sorted by the surname, which is in column E from A to Z, sort, and there we go. That looks better. Because if you just organize one column, it might just organize the surnames, and then all of this information will be jumbled. You want the learner information to obviously move with it to the correct alphabetical order. So now that we've done all of these prescribed instructions, I'm not going to really pay a lot of attention to all of this because I want to leave some time for questions and exploration and all of that. But I just want to show you like 2 things that are very cool to do. And the first one is to protect cells. So let's say I'm going to go back to my...
Pardon, Andrea?
Yes.
We have a question. Can you please repeat instruction number 2, please?
Will do, no problem. So this is, we're going to calculate the average. That is instruction 2. Is that correct? I hope that's the one that we're referring to. Okay, so I've just cleared this box. You need a formula to calculate an average. So that starts with an equal. And then you're going to literally type in average. And you're going to open a bracket like that. Now you have to select the range of the scores that you want an average for. So you click on the score, you drag it down to select that whole range, you close the bracket, and you hit enter. And that gives you the average. I don't think I used all of it now. Let me just try again. So equal, average, open bracket, select all of the scores that you want the average for, close the bracket, and hit enter. There we go. That looks right. Did that answer your question? Let me just see.
Ende.
Yes.
And Vivian is also saying number 3, please.
Fantastic. Will do. Okay. So complete column G using a formula. Okay. I'm just going to clear all of this. Show you. Okay. So column 3 wants us to combine the first name with the surname or the last name. But if you don't put a space in there, it's just going to be one word, and we don't want that. So that's why this looks a little bit more complicated, but you're just adding a space in there. So we're going to use a formula, which again starts with a equal sign, and you're going to select the cell that you want to appear first. So Bill, use the and then you use quotation marks, but remember to use the double quotation there, not the single. So it's the double quotation. I hit the space bar, boom, end the quotation, because that is now equal to a space that is being inserted in between the two cells data. Another and you click on the cell that you want to appear last, and you hit enter. And there we go. I'll do it one more time. So equal, click on the cell's data that you need first, and quotation, space, quotation, and then click on the last cell that you want shown and enter. And if you don't want to do that manually for every single cell, you just click on the cell that you've used the formula for, click on the square at the right bottom corner, and drag it all the way down. And there we go. Okay, Vivian, does that make sense? I hope so. Cool. Okay. So let's just move on. Oh, this is what I want to show you. If you have like a staff list, let's say, and you want your staff to be able to edit their information, so their address, their telephone number, all of those things, but you don't want them to be able to edit everything on the sheet, you can put protection onto certain cells, which means that it will only allow certain people to edit certain cells. So I'm going to use this same template as an example. So we don't want anyone to edit these scores because I'm the teacher, I mark the tests, I know what's correct. But if the child now has access to this sheet and he says, oh no, there's a spelling mistake, then maybe you can correct his name. So I want to put protection on this range right here, the scores. So you highlight the cells that you want to put protection on, and then you right click, and right here it says protect range. So click on that. Now into description, yeah, you can probably put something there, but I'm not going to do it right now. This is now the range that no one else can touch except me. So I'm going to say set permissions, restrict who can edit this range, only me. And maybe you want other people like your co-teacher to be able to edit, so then you can change this. You can use the drop down and say custom. And then I want Antoinette, my colleague, to also be able to edit that. So I can use an email address and share that, utilize the sharing rights effectively in that way. So now I say done. And then it's only myself and her that can actually alter these numbers on the sheet. Okay, so you don't have to actually do anything with this. It's just cool information. And let's see. The last one is conditional formatting. This is the very last thing. So if your brain is on the verge of shutting down, just give it an extra little bump. And I just want to show you this because I actually didn't know that you can do it. So it's fun to know. Because visual data is much more easily digestible than just numbers and letters and everything. So if you can add some color to it, it's like a pie chart. It's much easier for me to see percentages if someone gives it in a shape of a pie. So let's add some color to this to see how the learners have done in the tests. So you select the range, and then you can go to Format and choose Conditional Formatting. And this gives you so many options. So for this, just this example, I'm going to use format cells if, and now you have many options. If the value is less than, let's say, 50, because these learners might need some special attention. So if the cell contains data of a score that is less than 50, I want it to be red. You click done, close that, boom. So I have quite a few learners that I need to pay attention to. And that is visualization of data, a visual representation of data. And that is all I wanted to show you on Google Sheets. You have access to this template. So these are not very, but they are quite advanced tricks. And like the template says, it's for self-exploration. So you can go and Google how to do it. You can play around with it. This last one is actually quite tricky, and it takes some time to utilize the formulas for that. But it's a cool exercise, and it's great to push yourself to learn new things, especially in Google Sheets, because it's such a powerful platform. It's like programming. You're actually programming and coding things. It's great. So at this point, I want to actually just open up the